Today we are in the home of the venerable, a trailblazer, a woman who has exemplified what it means to be determined, to be resilient, and to be ambitious. In 2014, she broke the glass ceiling in Ghana, becoming the first woman to head a multinational telecommunication company. She was the CEO of Airtel Ghana. Before she attained that feat, it was a lot of hard work. And it is that hard work we're going to spend time to get her to tell us how she arrived there. Currently, she is the managing director and head of transformation for transactional banking, global transactional banking at Barclays. She spent time at Stanley Morgan. She's worked at Vodafone. She's worked at Ford. There's a woman who has achieved a lot and is an inspiration to many young people. So we want to hear her story, her childhood story, her professional career, how her family impacted her life, and what she thinks about the many young people on the continent, what she thinks about leadership in Africa, and how Africa can arrive at the place that it truly ought to be. Is our guest today. I'm talking about Lucy Quist, and we want you to stay tuned because we have a lot to share with you. We want to hear particularly what does she think about the long hair and the short hair in our secondary schools. So we're in a home, and we're excited to see her. Let's catch along. Yeah, we can. Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
Really nice
You're
face you've got.
Thank you. Thank you. Please make yourself comfortable.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much. Thank you so much. Wow. This is a really nice place. I like this you've got here.
Yes,
Great
just some memories of life that have happened.
Awesome, awesome. And just across us, you've got a really nice photo of your family too. Beautiful.
They're the light and life of it all. Yes, so thank you.
Once again. Well, we're still here. We are going to have a very insightful conversation, as I indicated earlier, with the venerable Lucy Quist, one lady that we all are always proud of to be associated with her as a Ghanaian because of what she continues to do for many young people and how she continues to represent us as Ghanaians, even in Africa large, and we have the rare opportunity to speak to her. So it's a big interview, and thank you very much for tuning in. My name is Zach Musbao, and I want us to get into it. Lucy is here. Once again, thank you very much. Thank you very much for having us in your home.
Thank you very much, and welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a very nice place you've got. And when I came, one thing that caught my attention was this behind me.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit telling kind of some of the stories of our lives and our children and our friends and our family and things that we've done together.
We're going to talk about it. Really love to know a lot more about your upbringing, your experience, as a child, because I know you grew up in UK and in Ghana. I want to know a little more about that. But just recently, a few days ago, your Bold New Normal conference took place in Accra.
Yes.
Talk to me about it. How did that go?
Oh, it was awesome, as always. But it's easy for me to say that as the convener, but it's more meaningful if I give you some substantive highlights. So it was the fourth the Bold New Normal conference that we were hosting in Accra.
Yeah.
And the ethos of the Bold New Normal is really about our transformation to create a more prosperous community, country, and continent, and beyond. So that's kind of the heart, that is the heart of the Bold New Normal Conference. This year, our theme was the transformative power of culture and language, rethinking socialization for prosperity. And it sounds long and lots of big words, and I say that to myself because every time I write something, I'm like, Lucy, what do you really mean? What I really mean is that our culture is really to our success. I'm a businesswoman, and one of the things we talk about in business is that culture eats strategy for success. If you don't have a good organizational culture, it doesn't matter how well you strategize, you will not succeed if you don't have a great culture as well, right? You will not have a great strategy as well. So when you think about culture in the context of our country, of our families, of us as individuals, we also have a certain culture or some norms within which we operate. And the point is that how do we use that as a tool of transformation to achieve what we want to achieve, which means understanding the parts of culture that well for us, and understanding the bits that maybe don't work well for us and we need to adjust. So why language? Language is how we pass down culture.
Yes.
All the things you know culturally, all the things I know culturally, somebody told us.
Absolutely.
We weren't there X hundreds of years ago when it started, but somebody has told us, has told our parents, they've told us, we're telling younger people. So that's why culture and language go hand in hand. Culture, language is like how you write the code of culture and you pass it on. So when you think things together, that's what our socialization is about. So how do we really think about our socialization in order to create prosperity? So we had a brilliant session in the morning with a young group. I call them youngish relative to me. They're not too young, but young enough to really bring their lived organizational experiences in Ghana to light. So we had someone from fintech, someone from technology and AI. We had someone from fashion, someone from academia to tell us within their organizations what's the impact of organizational culture trying to exist in the broader context of Ghanaian culture. What has that been like for them? What has worked? What has not worked? What would be their recommendations? Then we had a session with a professor from Ashesi, Jewel, who talked really about what she has studied about our cultural evolution over time and the journey that we have been on. Then we had Jigbodido Su to talk about the individual in the context of their lived cultural experience in the workplace in Ghana, together with a masterclass where I challenge people around their personal culture, what's the personal culture that drives you, their family culture, what drives the family either you came from or the one you're creating, and more broadly as a nation, where does our culture position us for prosperity on a global stage?
I think that's fascinating, really fascinating, especially the subject of culture, because often the conversation about Africa's development, African prosperity and all of that is often told in the context of our culture, to a very large extent inhibiting us from realizing our full potential, because we've had to overcome so many cultural practices just to free ourselves to get to the space that we want to get to. But let's talk about you now, because you're doing a lot for a lot of people, but let's talk about you and your story. We know, at least based on the little readings I gathered, that you grew up in UK and also in Ghana. Take me back. How was your childhood like?
It was a mixed experience, to be fair. So some parts were absolutely exhilarating and fun. Some parts were challenging and difficult. The summation of all of it is, I would say it was great because it created who I am today. But it was that mixture, and maybe I'll speak a bit about it. So it's very difficult as an individual, in my view, to tell your story without mentioning your parents, because you are a byproduct of their choices and some of the outcomes of their lives. I always start by telling people that, so my mother was born in a village near Nsawam. I was actually there 2 days ago with her. My dad was born in a village near Kumasi. So none of them were city people. They were born in their individual villages. And as fate would have it, through their life's journeys, they both ended up working in Accra, right? Through my dad after university, my mom after leaving school. And that's where they met. So they met at work in Accra, right? From all of their different backgrounds. So Ashanti region, Greater Accra, they come and meet in Accra workplace. And so that's how their journey started. And the thing that is remarkable about my parents that is reflective is that my dad was what anyone would call an academic, not academic as in a professor, but he had such a huge capacity himself for learning that he passed it on. So he was always, my dad was an engineer, he died a few years ago. He's an engineer. So he really created an environment of academic challenge and debate and discussion, ideation. And he started teaching me things that were way ahead of my years when I was very young. Wow. So it really set me up. So that's my dad. He comes with the academic part. My mom is a dreamer. And I love her for that because it's such a strange thing to call someone a dreamer. But my mom grew up in her village near Nsawam, and she would tell us that when she was a little girl, when she saw a plane flying over, she would be like, one day I'm going to go in a plane and see the world. And I'm like, who does that? You haven't even made it to Accra yet as a little girl. So, let's focus on getting to... But she was like, no, I'm going to see the world. Wow. And I think it's really important, those seeds of ambition or dreaming that we allow children to have, because it starts to guide their path. And this is where they came together. Two relatively different people, but two people for me would be a beneficial balance in my childhood. So my parents ended up in the UK through my dad's studies and work and so on. And so that's how come I came to be born in the UK, because you know, a dreamer met an academic and they found their way. But I was very fortunate that throughout those early years in the UK, my parents were always telling stories. They're both storytellers, telling stories of their lives, of growing up. So for me, in my entire head as a little girl, Ghana was this perfect place. I needed to make it to Ghana, right? Like, I have to get there. So first time I came, which I don't remember fully, I was probably about 2. And then they went back.
At the age of 2, even?
Yes, the first time. But I don't remember that time because I was too young to remember. And then they went back, and then the next time we left the UK, I was 7. But when I left at 7, we didn't come straight to Ghana. We went to Nigeria because my dad had a job there. My parents always wanted to come back, so that was their route. So we went to Nigeria in 1981.
I wasn't born.
We went to Nigeria in 1981, and I don't think their plan was, I think they were going to see how things work out a bit and then see when they come to Ghana. And one of the things I talk about in my book was how 1983 was pivotal for me, because we were in Nigeria at that time when Nigeria asked all Ghanaians to leave.
Ghana must go.
Ghana must go. So we ended up being caught up in Ghana must go, and we came to Ghana. So it's, I guess, at about 9 years old, coming to Ghana, at a time when things were tough in Ghana. Again, I guess you weren't born in 83 either.
I wasn't born in 83, but I'm really interested in that bit. Went to Nigeria. So you went to Nigeria 81, and by 83 you had to leave.
Yes, to Ghana.
I'm just curious, as a young person, how you were processing all of that. You almost got settled, and all of a sudden you told them, well, you have to leave.
And I must admit, that's been very thematic in my life, and it served me well in the long run, but as a child it's hard. So I remember getting into school in Nigeria, and back in the days, again, young people may not know this, but the best teachers in Nigeria were Ghanaian. So even though I hadn't lived in Ghana, I was being taught by Ghanaians in Nigerian schools because the Ghanaian teachers had gone. Ghana was challenged in those times economically, so lots of Ghanaians who were professionals were in places like Nigeria. Nigeria was doing well in the early 80s. So I was taught by Ghanaian teachers. I guess they gave me a bit of a flavor of what it's like. But I settled in. I'd even made a friend. My best friend was called Toyin. I still remember her name, but I don't remember where she is. I wouldn't recognize her. And then we had to leave and come to Ghana. And so I went into school again. And it was hard because as a child, if you move from the UK, you move from Nigeria, like you're moving. But what you develop is an ability to connect with people because you almost instinctively do it to survive, and then it becomes second nature. First, it's about survival, but then you get used to it. So I remember coming to Ghana. So when I came to Ghana, I was in class 3.
Okay.
And
so you came to Ghana, enrolled in school. It was a
it was we used to call them preparatory schools.
Okay.
So I was in one called Happy Home Academy. It's in Atiko Junction.
Atiko Junction.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Atiko Junction is near. For anyone who doesn't know, it's like Bubuashi Way.
Yes.
Before you get to Dakuman Junction. Because when we first came, we lived in Odoko, and so that was one of the schools that my uncle managed to get us into. So we used to go to Happy Home Academy, and I remember so well in the beginning, in those years, because some of the kids had known each other since nursery and kindergarten, they were already tight. Even though now I'm still on their WhatsApp group, so it's not like they didn't embrace me. But initially, you start school with people you've been to nursery and kindergarten with, and then this person shows up in class 3 when you're halfway through primary school. So in the beginning, they found it a little bit hard to I guess, connect. I found it hard to connect, but I was fortunate that we had some distant relatives, 2 of them who were in the school, so they kind of helped me get in. The whole system was very difficult, so I remember in class 3, I felt maybe a little bit lost academically because I was trying to find my feet, trying to figure out what this school expected of me. So I don't even remember my position in class 3. It was like I was just going to school to settle in.
But in terms of what you've been taught compared to what you were learning in Nigeria, did you find some similarities in there?
I guess not entirely, even though my teachers were very good. Look, one area that I've always been relatively strong is math because of my dad. So my dad was teaching me like algebra when I was like 8 years old. So things like that, I knew. But other things, remember, a lot of our curriculum will also be very Ghana focused as well, which as it should be. So I had to do all that catching up. So class 3 was a struggle, but class 4, I'd found my feet. So by class 4, by class 4, I was second in class, so life had completely changed.
That's an improvement.
Yeah, and by the time I left the school, I got the best common entrance. So I'd gone from struggling in class 3 to getting the best grade in.
You clearly just needed time to settle. Yeah.
And this child needed time. And I think that's why I'm so grateful to my mom, because she doesn't do this sort of pandering and making you feel that woe is me and life is so hard. She's like, get on with it. You need to figure out your solutions. Anyway, so that's what primary school was like for me.
And at the time, you mentioned you had distant relatives in the school. Did you have relatives, siblings, at the time?
Oh, yeah. So my siblings and I, at the time, the 3 of us were all in the school. Well, first of all, it was my brother and I. And then later, by the time I got to class 6, my younger sister started nursery because she's so much younger than me. I have another sister. By the time she was born, I was in secondary school.
Okay.
So I was never in school with her at all. So yeah, I have siblings, and they continue to be a source of encouragement and support in my life. So yeah, that was primary school. I always tell people that I went to Wesley Girls High School in Cape Coast, but that was totally fortuitous, right? So my dad is an Ashanti man. And he all he knew was, my daughter's going to go to St. That's in Kumasi, and we're going back home, and she's going to, But what happened to me was that in my primary school, there was a lady who, and she works in corporate right now, lots of people know her. She was a year ahead of me in primary school. So my maiden surname is Efrie, and for her it was her middle name. And she was top of her class, and I was top of my class. So people assumed like we were relatives or we knew each other. But we weren't. We just happened to be in the same primary school. But anyway, the reason why this woman is significant is that she chose to go to Wesley Girls a year ahead of me. And I knew nothing about this school. I'd never even heard of it. In the circles that I operated in, I didn't know about this place. But I just said to myself and said to my parents, well, if this woman is going to Wesley Girls, there must be something good about this place. Look at the way I say it, like almost flippantly. I think there must be something good. So I also want to choose this school. My teachers were like, oh, why don't you choose Achimota? You'll be good. I no, she's going to Wesley Girls. I want to go to her school. So this idea of, and I mentioned it, this idea of representation, setting an example. Think about it. A little girl chooses a purely on the basis that someone she looks up to, who's only probably a year older than me, is going there, so she wants to do the same. Representation, the examples we set are really important. And that's how I ended up going to Wesley Girls. Imagine, I went to Form 1 in 86, so it was only a few years after we had come. And my dad ended up traveling again because he hadn't planned to be here. But it meant that we experienced the economic hardship that most Ghanaians were going through, right? And most Africans still go through relative to our needs. We struggle to meet our basic things like providing enough education, the right health care, and for our children, right? So that was one thing that was definitely still there when I went to Wesley Girls. So I remember partway through Form 2, that I missed all of Form 2 or Form 3, I missed all of the second term.
Oh, wow.
I just didn't go to school the whole term.
What happened?
Because my dad was away, my mum was away, I was staying with my auntie, and she had no money to pay for me to go to school.
Oh, wow.
I mean, when I say pay, I don't mean pay the fees, just pay the TC for me to go.
Wait, the bus fare, you mean?
Yes. We couldn't afford for me to get on the bus to go to school for the whole term.
Wow. I haven't been to Passaic. You yourself as an Odadi
as well. Absolutely,
yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Then from there, you had university education in
yes.
the UK. How did you end up there? Now your parent came for you.
My uncle, so my mum's brother, cousin stroke brother who lives in the UK, was like, okay, now you finished secondary school, let's go on to the next. And so he came and took me away. Or paid for me to go. But you know, in those times, the UK was a bit different in the sense that, especially being born there, it was if you're determined, it was easier to. Should I say easier? It depends on your level of ambition, but it was easier to get into the system and engage in that economic activity and build your life up. So I remember going to the UK. I was 19, and within 6 weeks, I was working. And I have never looked back. I mean, that's like more than 30 years ago. That's how much work I've actually done. I have worked. Any environment you want to succeed in, you have to adapt to the norms of that environment to create success. That's what culture shock is all about. Dealing with culture shock is about adapting to norms.
Awesome, really exciting, really exciting. I want us to get into your career now, because I know you started your engineering career in the UK with Ford, then you transitioned all the way, then finally we got to hear of you in 2014 in Ghana. You were appointed CEO of Airtel Ghana, the first Ghanaian woman CEO of a multinational company. First of all, talk to me about how that news came to you, how that appointment came to you, and how it felt like for you at the time.
Okay, so, really quick whistle stop. I did engineering. I always wanted to be an engineer. I ended up working at Ford because I was an engineer, spent a decade at Ford, went to business school, came out, joined the Royal Bank of Scotland. But in that journey, the thing that was very clear to me is that I wanted to work in Ghana / the African continent. So I was on this journey, but I also knew where I wanted to get to. And when I went to business, that desire deepened, because when you really spend time on the facts and figures of how the world works, what the world gains from Africa, who cares and who doesn't care about Africa, it is actually heartbreaking. For me, part of my response to Africa's position in the world when I was younger, maybe 25 years ago, was quite emotional. That in reality, we don't seem to understand the work we need to do to really close and I don't even say close the gap, create prosperity. And so coming to Ghana was a very intentional move. While I was working in the UK, it took 3 years for me to find a job, 3 years. So I was working, don't get me wrong, but I wanted to come and work here. And it took 3 years of job search.
To come and work in Ghana?
To get a job.
Wow. And that job was? So
then I joined Tigo at the time, in 2008. And then within a year of being there, I was very determined that I'd be a telecom CEO.
Within a year?
Within a year of working there,
Tigo was your first job in Ghana?
Yes.
You arrived in Ghana, within a year of working in Tigo, you wanted to be CEO?
I started my part. You have to have a plan of where you're going. You have to decide a vision, and then you work out the gap between yourself and your vision, and you get there. So when I did my end of year review, my boss was the CEO of Africa, not country. I was working for the region, not for just Ghana. And so we had my end of year review, and he said, Lucy, in 5 years, what do you want to be? And I said, I want your job.
You told him that directly?
Yeah.
And what did he say?
He was thrilled. And he said, okay, I'll help you. He didn't say he'll give me his job. I'll help you means that I'll give you the challenges that will prove whether you could blaming.
I mean, amazing. And I think within that period, also within your time, of course, eventually you had to leave Airtel Ghana, and you went on to do many other things, Morgan Stanley and now your Barclays. But within that period, so you spent a lot of time training a lot of young girls, trying to encourage them to pursue STEM education, because it's just you had so much belief that for Africa to prosper, science and technology is a key part of it. We need to focus a lot in that area. Just talk to us about some of the things you did in that space, encouraging young girls in that space.
So, my encouragement goes to all young people, both male and female, but obviously being a woman means that sometimes young women draw more on my example, which is absolutely fine. But when I became the CIMG Marketing Woman of the Year, I said to my team that I didn't want it to be a title that I just walk away with and just do nothing with. Because I also know that when you get these kinds of titles for a period, there'll be publicity and people will be interested in you. And I thought, why don't I leverage that publicity that comes with it to create a platform that really encourages young people differently. And I'm passionate about STEM, yes, because of my background, but also because to develop you have to make things, you have to create things, not just ideate, but you have to actually turn it into tangible products and services, and that's what STEM people do. And so we came up with a platform we called Evolve with STEM, and Evolve with STEM through our CSR gave me the opportunity to sponsor different schools. I went back to a school in the Mataiko cluster of schools, because that's where I did my national services. My national service. We also adopted a school in the Labadi area. But we used those schools as almost like our model state schools to bring the message of Evolve with STEM to a wider audience. And don't laugh, but back in those days, I would actually have journalists ask me, Lucy, what's STEM? Literally, they would interview me, and the first question would be, what is STEM? And so I was like, oh my goodness. So we are actually still discussing what this even is. We have a lot of work to do. So I'm very proud that we use what was a platform of recognition to create an opportunity for many young people to engage in technology, whether it was coding, there was science club, I would just say Evolve with STEM, and really impact them. I joined the Ghana STEM network. They still exist. There is a Ghana STEM network for anyone who doesn't know. You can look them up. I joined them and I learned about all the amazing work that's happening in STEM across the country, and still happens to this day. But I believe that we, in addition to all other professions, I know STEM can feel sometimes hard. It can feel like it requires a lot of work, but it's extremely necessary to build a nation.
I mean, we're going to be wrapping up very shortly. I mean, we've said a lot, but one of the things I also wanted to touch on a bit are some of the things that we appear to be paying attention to, which, I mean, if you want to look at it closely, are insignificant in the growth of young girls.
You mean we major in minors?
Exactly. And most recent, in our schools, for instance, there's still a certain emphasis on how students ought to appear.
Yes.
Got to keep their hair short. Just want to get your quick reaction to some of these things.
I'm smiling because as you're asking the question, I'm like, Lucy, you have to give him the short version of this. I will give you the short version. You know, this whole hair thing is something I actually talk about in my book, The Bold New Normal, because I'm that passionate about it. It's unfortunate that the debate has focused on things like beauty contests and girls. Your hair is about your socialization. I promise you, if you did a survey of Ghanaian women, the vast majority do not know how to do their own hair. The vast majority cannot manage their own hair. It doesn't make sense. So for me, the hair debate is about two things. It's about, when are our young people actually supposed to learn about their hair, right? And the second thing is the unintended consequence that comes from saying to girls that your hair is too difficult, your hair is too, you need to cut it off. It undermines our relationship with our hair. So now we become a nation where, in addition to all the other beautiful things we are able to do with our hair, wig, weave, blah, 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 when it comes to things to do with our own natural hair in its natural state, we're clueless. That math doesn't add up for me. Why can't my hair, as it grows out of my head, of course you can see, be one of the options? Why must it be the thing that is vilified? So we need to have this debate really from the perspective of those of us who have lived the experience. What is the psychological impact of this, number one, in terms of self-worth and how we view ourselves? And number two is, what is the price we are paying for this? Because every woman is seeking to spend a fortune on her hair, even when she doesn't have it. Money that we could be investing, money we could be using to put into funds, money that we could, take advantage of the time value of money, and if you put it in for 10 years, the amount of, we don't do any of that. Just pour it into our hair. And worst of all, most of the products that we're using are not even companies are owned by us. So we're actually pouring money out of our economies into other economies, creating jobs for something that is partly a social issue.
I mean, and how do you feel when you hear stories of teachers?
Oh, the abuse part.
Yeah, abuse part. How do you feel about
For me,
things like, especially in the school environment?
Yeah, I think for me the two stories are linked. They're linked because when you talk about hair not being, girls shouldn't be focused on their appearance and their beauty. And at the same time, you have male teachers taking advantage of them, which really is an over-sexualization of a teenage girl in a way. It's almost as though we want them to remain under control. So the things that will be beneficial to them, as in how they look and how it makes them feel about themselves, we deprive them of that. And at the same time, we let the men who abuse them get away with it. There's something wrong with this equation. And so we need to revisit both. Look, I'm not a psychologist, so I'm not going to claim that I understand all of the psychology of it, but I do understand the psychology of my lived experience. I do understand the psychology of my peers who were in a rush to get a perm the day we left school, myself included. We didn't even try to explore our hair. The next was, how do I change this thing on my head? That's the thing we get told, we get taught subconsciously. So I would say we need engagement on what's the real psychology of this practice. And is it a practice that undermines our confidence in ourselves and how we feel about ourselves? That's number one. Number two, we actually have to enforce punishment for men who take advantage, whether it's in the school, whether it is in the church, whether it is in the corporation, men who take advantage of their position to coerce people who are diametrically powerless compared to them and take them. We need to enforce laws against them. And I say that in all seriousness because we're building a nation with too many women who do not feel they have agency. The things that come to them naturally we want to take away, and the things that someone else controls wrongly, we want them to get away with it. For me, this whole equation and the whole debate is in the wrong place.
And just maybe finally...
I know I got a bit animated about that, but this thing I've thought about so much and it really upsets me.
And just finally though, just recently, I think just about a day or two ago, Cameroon elected Paul Biya. He's at the age of 92, 93. He's going to serve another term. He's been in power since the 80s, since he moved from Nigeria to Ghana. He's been in power. Ivory Coast... Since
I was a little girl.
Exactly, he's been in power. Ivory Coast just, we understand Ouattara is most likely going to stand again. Uganda still have Museveni who want to stay on again. Across the African continent, it does appear there's still a grip on power. Maybe Ghana case is different because we're still able to do our, elections and all of that. You have so many people leading, even women leading and all of that. What do you think about the future of Africa, especially when you see people who ordinarily should be in the house taking care of their grandkids still holding on to power?
So first of all, I do agree with you that based on the examples you're giving, I would agree that they should be at home with their grandchildren, enjoying, and seeing their lives out. But where I disagree with you is that they are representative of Africa. They're not. And this is part of where, as Africans, again, language, communication, we need to unpack the narratives and position what we understand about ourselves around facts. There are 54 countries in Africa. If 3 of them have old men who won't leave power, it still leaves us with over 50 that we should analyze, right? So my thought process is that, do we have some who are holding on to power for too long? Yes. Are they the majority? Thankfully not. So the question we should reposition to ourselves is that, how is it that Ghana is able to do it? How is it that Cote d'Ivoire may have an old man, but they have changed power? How is it that DRC eventually has been able to do it? We have more and more examples. So the majority now are actually changing power as opposed to those who are stagnating. So that's number one. The narrative has to be very, very clear. I like to be fact and data-based then. So the facts say that we do have change in government. However, back to your point, the core heart of your question, which is about young people, I would say to a young person who aspires to leadership, national leadership, right? Because today you should be leading within your sphere of influence, but to national leadership, put in the work.
Understand, we need to wrap it up now, but then I turn my attention again to this. And I suspect your kids are also in here, aren't they?
Yeah, they are, but this is when people were babies and I was having them and so on. So this is...
How many have you got now? You've got how many?
So I gave birth to 2 sons, but I raised 3 children with my beautiful niece. And every photo here, I think the oldest photo here is probably somebody in class 6, so probably 11 years old. But they're all 21, 20, and 19 now. Oh, no. So they're all young adults. And this is what we captured, their early years of life and early years growing up. And we've just had the privilege of raising 3 wonderful human beings who are the light of our lives.
Awesome, awesome. There's one photo here. I see you at a dining table, and just curious what you love to enjoy as a meal on a regular day.
So on a regular, the thing I love more than anything is actually sitting around the table together with my family, because that's when we talk, we connect, we debrief, we decompress, and even now we have a routine where I speak to them many times a day, but we have a Sunday call. Okay. Sunday call, you're in university, you're here, wherever it is, everybody has to regroup Sunday evening. We go through our devotional, we pray together, and then we talk about our lives. But in terms of food, I'm not as much a foodie as I'd like to be, so I don't focus on a particular meal. I love variety. So the thing about me is I love to try.
Which one will you pick? The Ghanaian delicacies, which one will you pick?
Gosh, I like a great soup, right? That's the Ashanti in me. But you know, some days when you get some proper gakomi and like the fish, some mackerel is grilled really, and the pepper is just right, right? The pepper is just right. I like that. So for me, it's like, I guess, you remember how we talked about me moving around through life? I think it's given me this zest for experimenting my way through life and trying different things. So
you like Shatta Wale?
I found some of his songs interesting. So I'm a lyrics person, not just the melody person. So I really need to connect with your lyrics to appreciate your melody. So if you have a song where I like the lyrics, I'm most likely going to like.
And which of the musicians in Ghana?
So King Promise has been very interesting.
Reigning Artist of the Year.
Yeah. So, and that's not why I said it. So even when he did things like CCTV and so on, which is now a bit of an old song, right? I still love that song to this day. I remember when
you've got the lyrics in mind?
Hold on, let me give you 2 seconds. On CCTV, Neni Womiso. He said something. CCTV, Neni Womiso. He effectively, I have to. You're gonna find it, and then we're gonna sing to it. So I like CCTV. Kim Paluta has some great songs now as well.
Yes, Kim Paluta.
Paluta has some great songs right now. And I'm gonna sound very, very bad. But you know, back in the day, Ifya had some really awesome lyrics, especially the couple of duets that she did with Sarkodie. She did a couple of duets with Sarkodie as well. Those times were really good. Do you remember R2Bs?
Yes.
R2Bs.
Which of them?
This song is probably 10, 11 years old now. Because I remember back in the day, it was around the time that we were doing a lot of Azonto.
Is it the, what's the name? This R2B's Azonto song. Quite forgotten, but it was popular in the SHS too. You're thinking, when she was listening to the covers in SHS, I was working. So no, I have a huge appreciation of music. I mean, growing my earliest memories of playing music, I was 5. And I'd wake up on a Saturday morning, I'd go to, I know you don't know about the LP, the big round. Yes, I've seen it.
That's what he says, I've seen it.
I've seen it.
That's the one.
Yeah, it's a really nice song. Wow.
It's I don't know.
So that's a very...
But when you listen to this, my story, and you listen You can see why I like it, because the song says his eyes are always on me. Like he's watching me like a CCTV watches me. And we've only talked about a few of the twists and turns. I've had so many. And I know that CCTV, God's CCTV is like he's got one that's tuned in on me. So make sure you focus on the one that he's tuned on you as well.
Awesome. We're speaking to Mr. Quist. It's been very exciting. Thank you so much for making time.
Thank you for having me.
Really enjoyed your story.
Thank you.
And all we want to say is thank you for the chosen. Thank you for continuing to inspire us. And we are very grateful to God for giving it to us. And we want to urge you to keep dreaming, to keep achieving all the great things, because you have thousands of people you're inspiring.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time,
so
for your energy, and for your positivity. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we're most grateful. Well, that's it. Thank you also for tuning in. Make sure that you stay tuned to the channel. And it's been a privilege talking to Mr. Quist.